As I get older, I'm noticing that it's harder for me to find games interesting at first glance. There are still some things that catch my attention, and for me personally, there's an undeniable charm and artistry that's expressed when a game actively chooses not to aim for realistic visuals. So when I saw Gunbrella on Steam, it was an easy sell. It checked all of my usual boxes: pixel art, a buyable soundtrack, published by Devolver Digital, and a name that's as informative as it is memorable. Gunbrella is a 2D action platformer developed by doinksoft, where you play as a tragic figure named Murray. The game opens with Murray being haunted by the story's inciting incident. When foraging in the mountains, Murray returns home to find his house ablaze, his wife murdered, and his daughter missing. The only clue he finds is a mysterious weapon that's part gun and part umbrella. From here, Murray sets off on a quest to locate the person responsible and find out what happened to his daughter. Quickly, it becomes clear that the world of Gunbrella is not one of sunshine and roses. There's a general gloom that adds to the dark, dystopian atmosphere the world of Gunbrella exists within. The sun does not shine, and the earth is growing increasingly low on natural resources, with a utopian society at the core of the issue. The game takes the player down a path with many genre influences, such as grimdark, noir, and eldritch horror, with no shortage of enemies that Murray must take on with his now trusty Gunbrella. When moving around the world, you're able to jump and move in a manner typical of 2D platformers, but Gunbrella structures all of its traversal and combat around the game's namesake weapon. You're able to aim and fire, dash in all directions, and glide by opening the Gunbrella. The Gunbrella also doubles as a shield that can be used to block attacks, disorient enemies, and parry projectiles when opened at the right time. The game is broken into sections where you're free to explore and interact with NPCs, often bookended by linear platforming sections where you must brave the dangers of the wilds to reach the next part of the story. These platforming sections are creative and incorporate environmental mechanics and enemies that build on each other to keep things engaging as the game progresses. A small complaint I have was that I often found that just as the combat and traversal sections really started to grab my attention and I was hitting my stride, I would reach the end and lose that momentum on the next narrative section. This wasn't always the case, as the game does have its fair share of boss fights that allow Gunbrella to flex its fast-paced and responsive combat systems, requiring the player to be mindful of projectiles and the boss's weak points. The gameplay in Gunbrella is stellar, but I constantly found myself wishing there was more that the game offered in terms of providing the player avenues to exercise movement mastery. As you continue to experience the story, you meet characters and have to make decisions that can have repercussions later in the game. All narrative elements are experienced through written dialogue that must be read. Characters aren't voiced in the traditional manner, but have canned phrases and sounds that simulate talking and provide each character with their own unique identity. Throughout the game, Murray makes friends, enemies, and must make decisions that may or may not have an effect on how the story plays out. Overall, I think that Gunbrella is a good game, but there are things that keep sticking in my mind that I think hold it back from being great. As you play through the game, I found that there were systems in place that began to feel unnecessary as you get more comfortable. One of these systems was being able to change the ammunition in your Gunbrella to alter effective range and provide variety to combat. While the default configuration of the Gunbrella is an unlimited single-fire shotgun, there's also rifle ammo that turns it into a long-range burst-fire weapon and saw blades that can be fired quickly and bounce off of walls. Each of these additional ammo types are limited, and I often found they didn't do much more damage than the shotgun shells. As a result, I focused on getting comfortable with the shotgun shells and only ever used the additional ammo types just to see how they behaved. This wasn't the only case where Gunbrella seemed to fall victim to its own mechanics. Again, as I got more comfortable with the game's controls, I was able to fly through combat sections with the knowledge that dashing into enemies interrupted them, and sometimes shooting them would stagger them. There didn't seem to be a defined limitation to these stagger effects, and sometimes I could easily dispatch groups of enemies that I felt were intended to be threatening. Even bosses occasionally felt trivial and could be shot repeatedly to effectively stun-lock them. There are also other systems that feel either over-tuned or were potentially afterthoughts as a means of getting rid of resources you continue to collect. You find coins when you destroy crates and barrels, but I wasn't using my healing items, so I rarely had to spend them. You can upgrade your Gunbrella with parts you can find or earn, but I found that after one upgrade I could one-shot most enemies by getting close enough or reload my shotgun shells before enemies finished reeling from the first shot. As I got closer to the end, I felt that the gameplay, while still very polished and fun, had little to no remaining challenge. Overall, I think Gunbrella is a solid game, and it certainly stands out with its well-executed gameplay focused around the titular weapon. However, as the game continues, it starts to fall victim to its own mechanics as the challenge fades away and begins to feel weighed down by systems that I personally began to ignore. Gunbrella is not a notably large game, but the team at doinksoft made many smart decisions around presenting the narrative in a way that's intriguing, believable, and makes great use of the designed areas. It's a game worth checking out in my opinion. I just wish there was a bit more. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, keep having fun.